From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your MTN Statewide News this Thursday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, nearly 100 new positive cases across Montana and another death at Canyon Creek Memory Care in Billings. Yellowstone County health officials say a man in his 70s passed away at the long-term care facility on Tuesday, related to coronavirus symptoms. Now, since the outbreak was announced at Canyon Creek on July 6th, 14 residents have died due to COVID-19 related illness. To date, 96 people associated with Canyon Creek have tested positive for the virus, 56 residents and 40 staff members. Well, this latest death marks the 20th here in Yellowstone County, the 43rd death across the state. Now, the state confirms 97 new cases today and reports 54 people are now in Montana hospitals with coronavirus. In Wyoming, a Campbell County woman died while battling COVID-19, bringing the death toll there to 25. Health officials announced 40 new cases yesterday and 422 people currently infected. Well, the Senate is expected to roll out the next stimulus package today. Senate Republicans and the Trump administration say that aid will include more funds for virus testing. However, disagreements in other areas continue. The biggest roadblock remains the president's push for a payroll tax cut. Hardly any senators support the idea and are pushing for another round of $1,200 checks instead. Portland saw more violent crashes between protesters and federal officers overnight. This comes as President Trump is boosting the number of federal officers in other cities that he says have high crime rates. Natalie Brandt has the latest.
Federal officers sent tear gas and rubber bullets into a crowd of protesters outside the federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon overnight.
It stings. It's hard to breathe.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler was in the crowd and told the New York Times the federal officers' reaction made things worse.
This is not a de-escalation strategy. This is flat out urban warfare.
On CBS this morning, Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Chad Wolf accused Mayor Wheeler of supporting violent protesters.
He could have chosen to go to peaceful protesting, had a audience there, and could have made his points. He chose to go to an area that has seen 54 nights of criminal activity, targeting a federal courthouse and targeting federal law enforcement officers.
DHS says the operation in Portland is separate from the president's announcement Wednesday that he's surging hundreds of federal agents to cities he says are plagued by violent crime.
We are ready, willing, and able to go in there with great force.
Under Operation Legend, the Department of Justice is sending roughly 200 agents to Chicago and about 35 to Albuquerque to work with violent criminal task forces already working with local police. The president talked to Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot about the decision.
These are going to be additional FBI, DEA, and ATF agents who are going to be augmenting existing investigations, but managed by the U.S. Attorney here in Chicago, who I know and trust.
But Mayor Lightfoot warned she is ready to fight back in court if federal agents operate in Chicago like they are in Portland. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
What's your name? Tell us your name. Okay, you're fine. We'll get you out.
Operation Legend was started with about 200 federal officers in Kansas City and is named after Legend Taliaferro, a 4-year-old boy who was killed there. Well, after the heat yesterday, let's take a look and see what things are shaping up today. Like Rob Griggs is in for Ed McIntosh today.
Indeed. The song today is "The Heat Is Off."
Oh, good.
Yeah, it sort of came up with that. Didn't spend a lot of time on it, but that's what's happening. We've got some thunderstorms around the state. Take a look at the map right now. Rain showers spread all the way from western to central to eastern Montana. The downside, of course, even with the cooler temperatures, the development of strong to severe thunderstorms in southwest Montana and northeast Montana is definitely a possibility. But right now, boy, it's just comfortable. Relative humidity numbers bumping into the 50s, but also dropping down to around 39% at places like Butte, 32% at Jordan. And wind right now associated with passing showers and thunderstorms, maybe up to 30 miles an hour in places like Livingston, 36 miles an hour in Williston, North Dakota, and both Sheridan and Cody, Wyoming, close to 30-mile-an-hour winds. And that's going to be the case. We'll talk about specifics with the storms and the rest of the forecast today in just a moment. Jeanelle?
All right. Thanks so much, Rob. Well, the House passed the Great American Outdoors Act, which promises permanent funding of the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Montana Congressman Greg Gianforte voted yes on the bill, which the president is expected to sign. The bill contains almost $2 billion a year for maintenance of national parks and public lands. Gianforte spoke on the floor yesterday and noted the importance of our national parks and how they're in need of repair.
People from around the world come to tour our outstanding national parks, including millions of visitors every year to Yellowstone and Glacier. Unfortunately, too many of our parks have fallen into disrepair. This bill begins to rebuild and repair our parks.
The Land and Water Conservation Fund has paid for dozens of land access projects in Montana. In a tweet, President Trump thanked Montana Senator Steve Daines for his work on the historic bill. Well, the governor's Grizzly Bear Advisory Council wrapped up its most recent meeting in Helena yesterday, but still the group has no consensus on grizzly bear hunting. The council compromised to include hunting in a separate section of the document. This allows the members to provide guidance to Fish, Wildlife and Parks on any potential hunt while ensuring opposing viewpoints are equally represented. Draft guidelines to the state include protecting female grizzlies with young from any hunt, model a non-refundable draw for tags similar to moose and bighorn sheep, and have a dynamic season closure. The Helena Farmers Market is now officially canceled for July 25th. The Helena Farmers Market Board President Wayne O'Brien said in a voicemail to MTN, quote, "We decided to pull the plug on the running of the market on Saturday just because we don't feel we have a winning proposition." Yesterday, a Lewis and Clark County judge issued a temporary restraining order stopping the Helena Farmers Market from holding any events for 10 days. A bill pushed by Senator John Tester to help veterans of the Vietnam War passed yesterday. Lawmakers voted to provide VA benefits to those suffering from Agent Orange exposure. Now, Agent Orange is a toxic herbicide used heavily during the Vietnam War. Many veterans are suffering from illnesses linked to it, including certain types of cancer. The legislation is slated to pass as an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act. The Montana Democratic Party is hoping a judge will remove the Green Party from the 2020 ballot. It filed a lawsuit saying the petition qualifying the Green Party for the upcoming election is not valid. Now, they say more than 400 voters who signed the petition asked to withdraw their signatures after discovering that Republicans were behind the effort to qualify the Green Party. But Secretary of State Corey Stapleton denied those requests, saying the deadline for withdrawals had passed. However, the suit says no such deadline exists in state law. Now, if the judge agrees, 6 candidates will be removed from the general election ballot. Lawmakers in the House voted to get rid of Confederate statues from the U.S. Capitol. The bill was approved with bipartisan support. The proposal would remove statues of Confederate soldiers on display in the Capitol complex. Officials would also have to take down 3 statues of men who defended slavery, segregation, and white supremacy. The legislation now goes to the Senate for a vote. Still ahead on your noon news, Montana firefighters are being called out of state to help with wildfires. We hear how the pandemic has changed fighting the flames. But first up, Rob Griggs is standing by with your statewide forecast. We'll be right back.